We visit Bikernicki in Riga, Latvia for round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship, a track that is highly respected by virtual and real competitors alike because of the high speed and precision required to complete this layout. Leaving the start line with a high speed entry of 160 km and a little kink thrown in for extra measure, making it extremely difficult to initiate correctly. Follow the outside line to clip 1 with a fast transition to clip 2, carry that momentum into the inner clipping point of 3, let the car float out to clip 4 and leave it instantly to set you up for the most difficult transition. Be careful not to touch the curb here as it will ruin the important transition timing. Get onto the other line before leading into clip 5 as early as possible so you can leave it immediately to position yourself as early as possible onto the final clip of 6. Follow the wall to the end, prioritizing speed and angle to maximize your qualifying score. So qualifying in Bikernicki is always the most challenging track to qualify on, as it's so fast. It requires maximum precision and it requires a very, very fine line of how hard to attack, right? If you attack too hard, you could hit any of the 3 or 4 death curbs, as we like to say, and you've also got a wall in at the very end. So even if you do make it to the end, you could still lose it all crossing the finish line with that wall. So it's very, very important to understand exactly what you need to do to be able to get a high qualifying score and doing just enough to be able to achieve that. And that's what we did with these 2 runs. The first run is on the top, the second run is on the bottom. 94 for run 1 and 95.7 for run number 2. But there are 2 differences between the runs. And the first thing is, run 1, we actually carry a little bit more angle through the first clipping point, as you might notice. And as we transition here, again, the first run having a little bit of left foot brake, but nothing in the second run. The transition timing here is the same, but coming from 5 into 6, so run number 2 has a much more aggressive transition, and that's literally the only differences between the runs. The transition timing is the same, the angle is the same, the amount of throttle used is the same, but it's only small differences, like a little bit left foot brake here, a little bit of extra angle there is the reason why we gained an extra point in the second run. And I like to think if we merged the 2 runs together, took the first corner from run 1 and took the remainder of the track from run 2, we could have hit a 97 point run easily, I feel like. And man, that's just kind of crazy to think. We obviously qualified first overall with 95.7 ahead of T-Con with a 95.3, 0.4 of a point splitting the 2 of us, which is crazy to think. 94.7 for ZACK O'Sullivan, and to finish it off is my Project Academy teammate RHYS TATTERSON with a 94 points run. So really, really close at the top in the end. Actually very close qualifying session in general, with the cutoff point being like 89 points or something crazy like that. So a really, really high tier qualifying session. Heading into battles now, we just need to continue this momentum of these really strong lead runs and just figure out the chase from there. And you know, you guys have probably heard me say that a lot, but that's really the case. So for top 32, we go up against KAZUKI FUKUSHI from Japan, and in his Toyota Celica, not Celica, right? Let's get it straight. S205. This car is freaking awesome. KAZUKI's been driving this car for years, since I remember joining VDC. I'm pretty sure he's been competing at the same time since I was, and he's been driving that Celica since then. Also from Japan, so he has a higher ping than what we do. And we are closer to where the server is located for this championship, so there is a bit of a difference, there is a bit of delay in things, so we have to be concerned that we don't get too close to him, because we could in fact hit the bubble that he might have around him because of that delayness. So we have to be careful about that in the chase position, but luckily we are leading it in, and because of that we can set the pace. And so for this battle, all we got to do is set our lead run, and in the chase position just adapt to what he's doing and making sure that we're not making any mistakes. And you know, we can see from lead position here, we're actually a little bit more angled and a little bit deeper, but from the chase position here, KAZUKI's actually going to center punch the cone, and we're going to maintain proximity in our chase run as we transition back. Again, KAZUKI doing a nice job in the lead position, but I think we're matching him quite well in the chase. And one big mistake he makes here is on the final wall, he actually hits it in his lead run, which unfortunately affects my line chasing him. And unfortunately, because of that, we end up getting the win. The mistakes from KAZUKI were much greater than the aggressiveness that he had, and we were just much more consistent and just had a slightly better chase run in general, which gave us the win overall and allowed us to move on into the top 16. So for our top 16 battle, we've got Olivier BLAIS from Canada. Olivier, we've been driving, I suppose, in the same competitions for 2 years now, but I believe this is our first time battling, and the first time we would have probably driven against each other in the same competitions would have been EDC in 2020, 2 years ago. So Olivier did a great qualifying run. So, you know, going into this battle, we knew we had to do the lead run that we usually do, and from that point we would then adapt from the chase run, just like what we did with KAZUKI, because we knew that worked. and we'll have to kind of wait and see how we get on the chase run. But in the lead run, like I said, we just got to do it, just the same one that we've done all day, and from there we will adapt for the chase run. And so here we go, we're leading in Olivier. We're going to initiate on the yellow line, should I say. A bit shallow on the first outer clip there, but we do clean things up. Olivier hits the inner clipping point, but he does do some nice transitions behind us, and he's not really kind of on our door, but he is matching our angle for the most part. And he does have a little waver here. Yes, look, he shallows up on his angle and he drops back across the finish line. And I think let's move on to our second run here. This time all we got to do is just match what Olivier did in his chase run and try and better it if we possibly can, but we don't need to drive too hard here. And so as we initiate in, Olivier does better on the outer clip. In fact, he actually drops the wheel there, but we have a close transition behind. He runs wide on the inner clip. We don't clip it from the chase position, and we're just matching his angle. We're just matching his line and doing the best that we can to match. And if I remember correctly, when I was doing this run, it felt like I was much further back and it felt much safer than when I watch it here. I thought my chase run was actually quite safe, and I actually thought that there might have been a one more time when I was in the cockpit of the Pro Academy S15, or well, should I say the roof, because I don't know, drive cockpit view. So yeah, I thought it was going to be one more time or something like that, but watching it back, it actually looked much closer of a chase run than what it felt like at the time. So it just kind of goes to show that, you know, sometimes from what you see from the driver's perspective is not always what shows what it's on the track. And I suppose what happens from the out-car view is what matters the most, not really what happens in the in-car view. So that's interesting, something that I sometimes forget about, but we end up getting the win, moving on into the top 8. So for our grade 8 battle, we go up against Stephen Hatcher, another Canadian. And Stephen, you know, as you guys might know, we've had many battles together, and he's a fantastic driver, and he's FDRX7. Look, we've been driving for years. Stephen is a previous VDC champion. He's been driving since before I've even joined the series in VDC at least, and so he has plenty of experience. And Stephen is the type of driver, it's 100% or nothing, and so you never really know what to expect from Stephen. To some extent, you don't know, are you going to get the Stephen that's impossible to beat, or you're going to get the Stephen that's going to, you know, kick his shins and spin out or something like that. So, you know, this might be a little bit of deja vu, I suppose, from Drift Masters last year. So the question is Stephen not going to go off into the grass in the first corner? We're about to find out, and if he doesn't, we're going to have to give him a trophy. And by the looks of it, he's actually pushing us around the first corner, not giving us any room whatsoever. And as we head out to clipping point 4 here, he's right all over us. And as we transition back into 5, and he drops back a little bit, back onto the door again, and then there's contact, and he sends us into the wall. So, you know, this time he got a bit further than Drift Masters at least. He got to turn 5 this time, or the final corner this time. Last time he only got to corner 1, so... but a fantastic chase from Stephen up until that point. I think if he actually kept it up, we were going to have a really hard battle on our hands. And obviously heading into the second run here, into this chase run, we just got to make sure we don't make a major mistake here and make this a one more time. So here we go, initiating in. As you can see, we're taking a little safe here. I don't want to take a massive risk, but we do time the transition nicely behind, and we do get up to the door. A little bit of contact there on the door, and I was actually concerned that this bit of contact might have sent him off into the grass. The judges could have claimed that the contact could have affected his transition and put him onto the grass there, but he didn't zero out, he didn't spin, so they probably did view the contact to be my fault, and that is the reasoning to send him off the track potentially. But it's not enough to give him 10-0, let's say, and to warrant a one more time. And so because of that, we did end up getting the win. The contact he hit us on the chase run was enough to give him a 0, us a 10, and when you swap it around, we might have hit him on before that transition, but it wasn't enough to warrant a 0 to make it a one more time, and we end up moving on into the grade 4. So this guy might look familiar to you, and that is my teammate RHYS TATTERSON in the Pro Academy S15. This car, I think, looks gorgeous, people. I think it's the best looking drift car at all time. I might be slightly biased, but I feel like my opinion is correct, right? RHYS TATTERSON, obviously my teammate. Really excited to have RHYS again as part of the team in 2022. Again, coming off with his Drift Masters Virtual Championship win last season. Unfortunately, round 1 of this VDC season, not qualifying, but he corrected it this time around, and he did a fantastic run to get a 94 points to qualify 4th overall. And here we go, we've met into the final 4. He's had a fantastic battle up until this point. He had a great battle with Ericus Jerkus, a one more time battle that is. Also a fantastic battle with JSI Ueno, or also known as Brandon Patrick, with the FFF Drift Ferrari 599 Ferrella. So, you know, he's had a really good momentum here. He's had a potentially a more difficult bracket than what we had, and that sometimes can carry the motivation from that, and they can carry that forward. And we potentially could have had a very close battle with Steven. Unfortunately, he made a mistake. So heading into this lead run here, we know what we got to do that same lead run that we've been doing all day. We know that's working for us, so let's continue to do it, and let's just see what RHYS does in the chase position. And you know, at this stage, we're helping each other out. We're still talking to each other, but as you can see, RHYS here is actually pushing us around the track. He does center punch the cone a little bit in the chase position, but he's allowed to do that. He times the transition lovely behind us, and he is right there with us. And as we transition here into the final wall clip of 6, and he's there with us all the way to the finish. And wow, what a great chase run from RHYS. That's probably one of his best chase runs I've seen in a long time. And so here we go. We need to switch around now. We need to push hard to stay with RHYS because he's very, very fast. He's one of the drivers I actually struggle to chase the most because we're probably in identical cars. But one of the things I want to point out here, look at where RHYS is on the track. He's in the middle of the circuit, barely makes the outer clipping point 1. And we're just here trying to hang on with his, just trying to catch him as much as we can, but we don't want to push too hard. We know he's made some mistakes in lead position. A bit of a funky transition there from RHYS in the lead, which kind of potentially affected his line through the final corner here. And I think, unfortunately, that's sealed his fate. He made a few too many mistakes in the lead run there. He had a great chase run, but I feel like when you compare lead to lead, we had the better lead, and he might have had the better chase, but I think our lead quality over his was much higher. We didn't make as many mistakes, and we had we gave him an easier chase run, and because of that, we ended up getting the win and moving on into the finals for round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship. So it's final time, and that means it's only one guy left, and that is ZACK O'Sullivan from America or United States. That's a weird way of putting it. Either way, we've got ZACK and his Toyota Supra. You guys would have seen this battle from round 1. Unfortunately, we had a lag spike with the server with myself or ZACK. We don't know who it was. But this time, it's time to redeem it, and let's see, does it get any better than this? Let's see who's going to be the winner of VDC rounds 2 in Bikernicki. And here we go, leaving the start line. ZACK falling back on the start line to get a bit of a roll, but he's right with us on initiation here. And where is he? He's right there with us. He's actually pushing us around the first corner. He transitions nicely behind us. He center punches the cone a little bit on the chase position. He's matching our angle nicely. He times the transition nicely. Big dirt drop there from ZACK, and he spins it. He loops it around, and we continue on across the finish line, running the wall. Now that run was actually quite interesting, and I think it's important to watch it back and to kind of see. I just want to point out one thing here. You know, it just came too fast and just dropped wheels onto the dirt, and you know, he actually mentioned afterwards that his suspension broke, which kind of makes sense for this next lead run of his, as you know, when we leave the start line here, you know, ZACK is carrying a lot of speed, but you might notice straight away when he initiates in, he actually starts to drop some wheels here. And as you could see, as we flick in, he pulls a gap. He actually drops potentially upwards of 2 wheels. We time the transition behind him nicely regardless, and we try to match his angle here, give him some space in the transition. We snap around. Oh, bit of aggressive transition there. He has to straighten up, and it affects our momentum in the chase position, and we're now after dropping back a couple of cars. But I knew at this point that that was his mistake. That was nothing to do with my fault. I had nowhere to go. I was avoiding contact, and so I just took it easy across the finish line, not to really lose it. But it all comes down onto that lead run, of course, and whether or not did we slow down too much that would have affected ZACK in the chase position. And from my perspective at the time, I felt like that I did slow down a small bit more than what I usually would have, but I didn't apply the brakes. I didn't use the handbrake at any point during that area from the transition point to that clipping point 5 that would have I suppose caused contact. I think ZACK was coming in with a lot of speed as well, so in my eyes I felt, look, I did do a tiny mistake, but I didn't go off the track as hard as ZACK did, and it shows that ZACK was actually going in there a little bit harder than what I was going in there. So yeah, not a really ideal final. You know, we always want to have amazing finals, but it's quite common, especially when there's just 2 people left and you're fighting for the win. You're going to drive your hardest and you're going to take risks, and unfortunately it's one of those situations that one driver made a bigger mistake than the other, and it was pretty clear set there and done. So we end up getting the win, winning round 2 of VDC. I suppose the virtual king of Riga. This event for us was great. We are now in the championship lead. We're leading it by 4 points, I believe. RHYS is back into the top 10. He's now 8th position, I believe. And so a really important result for us, Project Academy Esports team back on the podium again, a 1 and 3 on the podium, which is always important. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of the content that we create. And other than that, guys, we will talk to you guys very, very soon. Cheers and goodbye.